All right.
All right.
Welcome. Yeah, Jink and Inky. We played them before. They're pretty cool. This is Freethinker Radio on 90.1 KPFT Houston. My name is Derrick Bros, here with Micah Jackson and our producer, Johnny Jack, in the house. And we are here for another week of uncensored news from underground music, like you just heard. We've got lots of other music we'll be playing over the hour. We're going to be covering important news. We also got tickets to give away. It's a busy Friday here.
It is a busy Friday. It's always a busy Friday on Freethinker Radio. So in case you didn't know, the number to call is 713-526-5738. We got a lot of music we're going to squeeze in. We got a lot of things to talk about. We've got tickets to give away, and y'all better call that number to get these tickets because they're not cheap at the gate. And Mary Beth Perrone, who's been on Comedy Central and drag his ass, I guess you can say that, right?
Yeah, that's one of the words we can say.
Yeah. Anyway, we got tickets for that available, pairs of tickets available at the Rec Room Theater for Saturday's performance.
For tomorrow?
So, yep. So it's in the evening. I'll get more into it, I guess. But
cool.
Let us know if you want those.
Yeah, what do they got to do?
I guess we should
just call in.
Just call in and let us know.
And how many do we have?
We have what is this? We got two pair. Oh, we got three pair. We got three pair of tickets, and we gotta give them away because I went to the Rec Room and there's like space for 60 people to sit there, and it's really nice, like a little black box theater. And why wouldn't people want to go to something great there? So we want to get these tickets out.
I'm standing by. I'm ready for your calls.
We want to get these tickets out because, for one, that's one of the things we wanted to do with this show. We wanted to spread music we love. We wanted to talk about important information, and we wanted to give things to the audience. So we're working hard. We're asking people for stuff to give to y'all. So, if y'all want us to keep doing that, call 713-526-5738. See, it's kind of like a reverse fund drive. We're trying to find fun for y'all. And all you got to do is call 713-526-5738. 5738. Get involved in the dialogue. Tell us what you want to hear and pick up some tickets.
And we will have lots of exciting things to give away in the coming months. We've been reaching out to different people, so we're very excited. Of course, we're always thankful to be here on KPFT. And if you need a reminder, KPFT is commercial-free, corporate-free community radio. And if you ever want to support them during our fund drives, we mentioned last time there's a silent drive going on right now. We're encouraging people to support however they can. You can visit kpft.org and find out all about that. But before we get into news going around the country and things happening in Houston, other than the comedy show, Micah, what other things that you know have coming up? Punksmas is this weekend?
It's today.
Yeah, Punksmas starts today, and it's going to be going on tomorrow too. So that's going to be Gen Y, and they got
the Ballistics.
The Ballistics. I know the singer for Leftover Crack has started a new band, and they're going to be performing. I'm not sure.
I saw that. Is
I'm
it
not
at,
sure which day.
Is that your place?
Nope, that one is at the Rat's Nest, which is
cool.
I think maybe another old school venue that just reopened. I've never been there.
I was at the Rat's Nest probably 10 years ago. That's cool that it's back. Awesome.
And you think that's all that's going on that just wants to make you get out? Fusca's going on tonight, too.
Yeah, I actually also have a show at Rudyard's.
Nice.
Jumbotron's playing with the Daphne 3. I'm going to play one of their tracks.
Oh, good.
So
and Quinn the Brain. They're all from Houston.
You're playing that tonight, Johnny?
Yeah, so Rudyard's tonight. That's
So Rudyard's tonight, and what'd you say about Fusca?
There's Darwin's, Rudyard's,
with
the Rat Nest.
Flowers.
There's a lot of places.
Oh, man. And then
I'm going to take some of these
and free comedy.
Calls.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we will be posting those events, you guys. We'll make sure to post those events. If you're on Freethinker Radio on Facebook, you follow our page, you'll see the articles we talk about as well as the events.
We did something exciting on the HD side last time.
Oh, we did. We actually started live streaming our show. We're working on some of the details so we can get it done correctly here on the FM side. But for those who are unaware, I have a YouTube channel. It's called the Conscious Resistance Network. And on Mondays, when we have our shows here on KPFT on the HD2 dial, we're on live for 2 hours, which gives us lots of time to get deeper into the stories and to take more phone calls and to play more music and all that good stuff. So we started shooting the show live on video as well, simultaneously. So being live on KPFT and then live on YouTube. And it went really well. We've got a good amount of listeners and followers there. We're thankful to everybody who follows along there. But we'll see what we can do about getting the show broadcasted live very soon, so you guys can just see us in the studio.
It was really fun because there's the chat dialogue going on. So people are commenting, some people are calling in. So it's really dynamic. Plus, we have 2 hours over there, so we look to make that a steady feature because we know that this show does generate a lot of engagement, not just for the free stuff, but for the free thinking.
Yeah, exactly. We got a lot of people who want to connect. So, all right. Well, if there's no other events, I want to get into a local story, Micah. Last week I was telling you guys, our listeners, and Micah and Johnny here, that I went to the this court case that related to former mayoral candidate Demetria Smith as well as Kendall Baker, who had filed a TRO, temporary restraining order, trying to stop the mayoral race here in Houston because of some irregularities that they found. And we also have a case here in the city of Houston where District B, which is also supposed to be on the ballot. Tomorrow's election day. For those who didn't know, the runoff has been going on the last couple weeks, early voting, and tomorrow people will decide who's going to be mayor and a few other city council positions. And it looks like the numbers are probably going to be somewhere between 5 and 10% of people who are deciding this, which is kind of sad.
Which means maybe
crazy.
3% might really decide, right? Because the other side is losing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the winning side will be, about that percentage. And, we can get into that whole discussion, but my point here is that that's going on right now, and one of the races, the District B race, was moved off the ballot because of a legal challenge. Well, Demetria and Kendall Baker filed a legal challenge to the mayoral race, but we've now seen that the county commissioner's court, as well as local judges, the judges that she's been seeing, have not been interested at all in applying the same reasoning and the same strategy that they did in this other case to the mayoral race, because that would essentially stop the mayoral election until some future point, until things get worked out. But they haven't been really willing to work with her that far and take it. So there was a court case last week. There was supposed to be one this week. It got delayed. Obviously, the election's tomorrow, and their whole point they kept telling her is maybe you're right. Maybe you do have a valid reason about irregularities and things that you're complaining about. But the county commissioner's lawyers were arguing that we should take care of it after the election, have the election anyways. But you think about that, if there are real irregularities, let's say miscounted or uncounted votes, or just procedures that weren't followed, and they're saying, well, we'll worry about that later. Well, then you potentially elect somebody who might have played a role in some of these illegal or, just improper procedures. And I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but needless to say, here we are Friday. Tomorrow's the election. It doesn't look like it's stopping. And, I don't know what's going to come after that, but we will keep you guys updated on that.
What if the other non-voting population went and just surrounded the voting centers and locked arms and sang anything?
What if they came there? I mean, that gets into the bigger discussion about, what is the real solution? And maybe we'll talk about that next week or on Monday, Micah, just kind of deeper look at if people are saying, because I know that the usual refrain is, okay, low voter count. Well, if all you people would get active, then we could change things, right? And then others saying, no, I don't care. I mean, it's just a big discussion. But
that's kind of unfair, because I heard on another radio show that argument, the one you hear all the time, like, if you don't vote, you don't have any room to complain. That's like saying, if you don't pick between these candidates, if you don't support one of these, you don't have room to complain. Like, out of, 300 million people in the United States, obviously for president, that one would apply, and it gets smaller as you work your way down. But to say I got like choices out of 5, 10, or else I don't have room to complain, I can't stand that. Sorry.
Yeah, and for me, I just want people to be aware that there are things going on in local races that you're not hearing. Again, I haven't seen this reported in any other outlet anywhere in the city of Houston about what's going on with Demetria and with this case and the accusations that have been made. And maybe something could happen after the fact. We'll let you know. Either way, we're going to keep up with it. And, stay tuned to Freethinker Radio for more.
I got another local race relevant article here that I took from the Appeal, at least the evidence in it. Harris County DA candidate Audia Jones says she won't prosecute sex work, which I think is interesting. If you remember, a couple of weeks back, we were discussing injunctions, civil injunctions, and how they were being used to target sex workers within this community. And some people that had never been found guilty of anything had civil injunctions against them. So I thought this was interesting, too, because, obviously sex work is a complicated issue, right? Sex work is different than human trafficking. And when everything's blurred, I think it's hard for people to know the difference. But anyway, Audia Jones, a former prosecutor who is campaigning to be the next district attorney in Houston, said this week that she would not prosecute sex work if elected. In a response to current Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg's request for a budget increase of $7.4 million to hire more prosecutors, Jones said that she would lower caseloads by declining to prosecute drug possession and offenses that target poverty. She later clarified that would include sex work. Why are we criminalizing people for making choices with their own bodies? She said in an interview with The Appeal. Sounds like she might not like forced vaccinations. And sex work is a lot of times is a choice, she says. And when we're talking about consenting individuals, this is what they choose to do. I don't think that's something the government should interfere in. Prosecuting sex work also pushes victims of human trafficking, rape, or domestic violence into the shadows because they become fearful of speaking to law enforcement, Jones said. Jones noted that Harris County, the nation's third largest county, is one of the worst when it comes to human trafficking, a point on which Ogg agrees. In a recent press conference, after a 15-year-old girl was found a victim of sex trafficking, died by suicide in this county, Ogg called Houston ground zero for human trafficking. Law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and a lot of community providers are really trying to change the paradigm for sex workers and for sex buyers, and most importantly, for sex traffickers, Ogg said. So,
Yeah, I've actually met Adia. She's really awesome. This is not an endorsement telling people to vote, vote for whoever you want. That race is next year. But while I was campaigning for mayor, we were at several events together, cannabis-related events, criminal justice. I do think she would be a better decision than Kim Ogg. Kim Ogg has done some good things, but yeah, as you just heard from Micah, Adia believes in self-ownership and doesn't think you should be locked up. The county should be locking people up for weed cases or for sex work. And as Micah said, there is a difference between voluntary, consensual sex work, adults exchanging whatever consensually, and people who are being trafficked or sexually abused, things of that sort. It's important to separate those.
Yeah, and one last note. Earlier this week, a coalition of advocates, legal groups, and workers union wrote a letter to Harris County commissioners criticizing Ogg's request for the expanded budget, her quote, overzealous prosecution of low-level cases, opposition to bail reform agreement, and inefficient use of prosecutorial resources. Democrats of the county commission previously denied her request for additional resources, choosing instead to increase funding for the public defender's office. So that's kind of, we're talking about these elections, talking about the election coming up. And, we have been covering sex trafficking and the civil injunctions against sex workers. And I think it's important to realize that these things aren't just something you hear on Freethinker Radio. There are things that are being reflected in races throughout the country.
Yeah, people are actually talking about these issues. Well, those are definitely important topics: human trafficking and the ending the drug war and reforming the criminal justice system in general. Because Houston is known for having horrible jails. The Harris County Jail itself was condemned over 10 years ago by the Department of Justice. They said it should be closed down because of overcrowding,
now, right?
Disease. Huh?
It's fine now, though.
Oh yeah, everything's fine now. Don't worry about it. No, I wouldn't go anywhere near that place. And thankfully, I haven't found myself anywhere,
yes.
Involved.
Frozen bologna sandwiches, man.
Frozen bologna sandwiches, cold, hard, concrete floors. But no, the real reasons that they said that they were recommending it be shut down is because disease, overcrowding, violence, things of that sort. And I mean, it's actually gotten better over time. I didn't spend time there in the 80s or anything, but people talk about how it was in the 80s and 90s, and when I was there, I heard cops, brag about, oh, man, in the 80s and 90s, we would have just taken you out back and done, the bragging about how they were able to get away with doing all kinds of things to people. So horrible places, and it's an important issue that needs to be addressed in the city of Houston because it does affect people of all races and all backgrounds. Some people go through their lives. I've had plenty of friends who had completely life-changing situations because they were like living their life. In this particular case, realtors making money, having a good time, never thinking about what cops are up to or injustices, and then randomly get pulled over by the cops, have a horrible experience, get abused, turns into like a lawsuit that lasts 2 years, and it totally changes their life and, opens their eyes to a lot of different things because they were particularly a light-skinned person from the suburbs who had a nice job, and these kind of things don't happen to us. Think again. But one other story I want to mention, Micah, that I think is important is the fact that there was a lawsuit filed, I think in federal court, just in the last couple of days over the county's decision. Was it the county or I need to look it up real quick, but there was a lawsuit filed over flooding related to, you guys may remember around Harvey, there was a decision to release some of the reservoirs, and it flooded hundreds of thousands or thousands at least, I know, of homes around this and the west side of Houston. And so there's now a lawsuit going on where people are trying to sue the city or the county, the appropriate authorities, for making such a decision. And we'll keep our eye on that, because I know that's something, I mean, that's the reality, is we're here at the mayoral election 2019. Whoever wins tomorrow is going to be the mayor for the next 4 years going into 2023. And people are still dealing with the realities of Hurricane Harvey and, the other storms that have come and gone. I know I definitely had friends and supporters who were on my mayoral campaign who were people who were in that situation, who still 2 years later didn't have a home.
And it's important to prepare for the next one as well, what we can do differently, to look at that. And if they have an actual plan to stop that decision from having to be made again, where someone's got their finger on the button of, do I flood these houses or let these houses get flooded?
Yeah, it's kind of like a choice. I don't think they really had much choice, right? When they open those dams up, they kind of have to, they get to a point, like you said, it's something's getting damaged. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to, it's beyond capacity.
Exactly. I heard the Dutch, they built their floodgates for the worst storm in 1,000 years. And a lot of American cities don't follow suit. Like, I know New Orleans just planned for the worst storm in 100 years or 200 years. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think you brought up an important point there, Johnny. And we see that often where there's not much reflection done on recurring things, whether we're talking about the floods here, where they may have to open the gates again, and who will be flooded, or how will the waters be diverted? Those sort of things, as well as just other perennial questions that keep happening. So, yeah.
Yep, and it's going to continue to be an issue. One of the things that I was saying during the mayoral campaign that I don't think it was I think some people got it, but for the most part, it seemed like, all right, politics is not an arena that's going to listen to these kind of crazy ideas. But I was just trying to put out, for one, I talked about permaculture and decentralized ideas of ways to, like Johnny was saying, be prepared, right? Don't necessarily depend on or trust that the government officials are going to, have your wellness in mind, that they're taking all the proper precautions. In fact, in a lot of areas we find out, oh, well, I trusted them. I thought that they would test this before they put it on the market or whatever. And it ends up not being the case. So you have to think for yourself and for your own family. And I realize that there is a lack of preparedness on the local level for things like this. But as communities and as individuals, there are steps that we can take to try to be more prepared, even if that means prepared to deal with a hurricane and be in your house and have enough food to survive, or have a plan to get out of the city if things look bad, or how you grow the food in your lawn and your area. I mean, because the thing about talking about permaculture and trying to do it as a city or on some sort of bigger scale, the city of Houston could be totally designed in a different way that would, help with reducing flooding. Not to mention that we were talking about planting hemp along the bayous and around the city as a way to help absorb the water flow and the flooding.
Also, new developments not actively making it worse would be a good thing, because you talked about that one neighborhood, and that always got me actually really upset. That somebody built basically another neighborhood adjacent to one, and it was 10 feet higher or something like that. So they just let all that flood water just run off.
Yeah, those are our friends over in Kingwood who they develop it. And that's definitely another part of the problem, Johnny, is that you have this, and this is what I learned by being involved in that.
There's so many townhouses going up in the East End and stuff.
The city
East
council
End doesn't really flood now, but who knows?
I mean, everywhere you see building has the potential to flood because they're building on more and more green spaces. This is the problem: is you have concrete, so you lose green spaces that would absorb the water. Instead, it's just flowing over concrete. And they're building more and more. And the other thing is, these developers, these are the kind of people that will either donate to campaigns or to city council or the mayor, and they get what they need and they move on, and people end up flooded, and that's it. Well, they've already made their condos, their townhomes, and got their money and moved on, one way or the other. But again, if you bring up this topic, the idea in the political arena, this idea that somehow we should maybe stop building, that's, if I had a political advisor, they'd say that's not a winning idea. No. You're not going to get very far by telling people to stop building. And I tried to say, I'm like, hey, maybe we have to face the reality. We live in an unsustainable city, and building more and doing all this stuff is not helping the situation. Like, I don't know. I mean, how do you do that?
Or more creativity. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have to build, but I mean, we're
build differently.
It's about to be 2020. We can surely be creative.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I was bringing up permaculture and the ideas of, that goes into the whole, just there's different modes of building, of growing your food, and of organizing a city. And some places are thinking ahead and thinking into the future. Other places like Houston, despite talking about wanting to be a smart city, and the mayor talks about the Houston Green Climate Plan or whatever, they're really not building in any kind of smart way and going forward. So I don't know how we got on the whole, but I think that was important. I think it's important for us to talk about that because there are people still being affected. Like I'm glad
crazy,
you mentioned
man.
Kingwood.
All those floods, dude, and there's going to be more. There will be another one eventually.
Absolutely. You're listening to Freethinker Radio here on 90.1 KPFT Houston. If you want to call in, 713-526-5738 if you have any thoughts on the stories we've covered so far. Also, we still have, I think...
Still got 2 pairs of tickets.
We got tickets.
Two pairs of tickets.
Yeah,
Tell everybody about the show again, Micah. The tickets we're giving away.
Oh, my God. I'm like,
it's a comedian.
It's a comedian. What, I got to answer right away. She's on Comedy Central's on Drag His
Comedy
Ass.
Central.
All right, I just want to say Drag His Ass on show more often. Her name is Mary Beth Barone. It's at the Rec Room Theater.
That's in the downtown area.
That's in the downtown area. It's a nice new theater. It's across from Minute Maid.
Is that today or tomorrow?
It's Saturday night. So, if you haven't taken someone out on a date in a while, you could take yourself out on a date tomorrow night.
I might do that.
Or you could take someone else. Or if you don't get them, Derrick's probably going to take these tickets because
Don't make me go out on a date by myself.
It wouldn't be the first time. You can call me at 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. Someone grab these tickets.
And super shout out to Jonathan and all our friends over there at Comedy Hub that keep Houston laughing and keep creative events happening here in Houston. They're not the only ones. It's a big city. We want you to tell us about what you got going on. So like us, follow us on, I hate to say the word, FB at Freethinker Radio.
FBI book.
Yeah.
And if you have tickets that you want to give away.
Exactly.
Give us a call.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump into a short story, Micah, before we're approaching the half hour and some music. But I want to share just one. I don't
think this is a story.
It's a huge topic, but I'm not going to get into it real deeply. I will share this on the Freethinker Radio Facebook page because it's part of a much bigger issue that, again, we'll probably get into on Monday when we have more time. But it's coming from the American Civil Liberties Union, and it says, in South Dakota, officials defied a federal judge and took Indian kids away from their parents.
What kind of Indians?
This is from
Feather?
South Dakota. I think that they are Sioux.
Okay.
But they give a little bit of history. For those who don't know, during the mid-'70s, Congress confirmed what Indian tribes have been saying for decades. State and local social workers and judges were aggressively using child custody hearings to take Native children away from their families and tribes and place them in foster or adoptive homes, more often than not with white families.
Why?
It was a part of, the colonization process, I guess, taking away the language, cutting of the hair, and separating from family and changing names. According to a congressional investigation, between 25 and 35% of all Indian children in the U.S. had been taken from their homes. Imagine that, more than a quarter of the population of one group of people, a rate that jeopardized tribal culture, if not the very survival of the tribes. Investigators determined that many removals were unwarranted and unnecessary. This led Congress to pass the 1978 Indian Child Welfare Act, which established minimum federal standards to guide when and how state agencies could remove children from their parents. But nearly 4 decades later, a new investigation shows that state and local social workers and judges in Rapid City, South Dakota, are violating the rules in open defiance of the Act, the Constitution, and now a federal judge. And the reason for this noncompliance is unclear, but the consequences are striking. Since 2010, more than 1,000 Native children in Pennington County alone, in Rapid City, South Dakota, have been removed from their families by state welfare workers and placed in foster care, disproportionately in non-Indian homes. Not that anybody should be getting their kids taken by the state. Stats compiled by the South Dakota Department of Social Services show that although American Indians or Native Americans, Indians comprise less than 9% of South Dakota's population, 52% of the kids in foster care are natives. Less than 9% of the population is native, but more than 50% of the kids in foster care are native. An Indian child is 11 times more likely to be placed in foster care than other children. In 2013, the ACLU got involved, and so this has been going on since 2013. And in March 2015, Chief Federal District Court Judge Jeffrey Viken confirmed that state employees were in fact removing children from their homes and then holding hearings in state court within 48 hours in which parents were not assigned counsel to represent them, were not given copy of the petition accusing them of wrongdoing, and no state employee was called to testify. Moreover, the parents were not permitted to testify, call witnesses, or cross-examine any state employees. The hearings typically lasted less than 5 minutes, and some were done in 60 seconds, and the state won 100% of the time.
Wow. That's terrifying and horrible. And which state is this in?
This is in Rapid City, South Dakota.
South Dakota. You think they'd have a problem that someone could create a problem for them, like with within the government by like rattling and shaking Bureau of Indian Affairs or something like that, something in the federal government. So like it's the United States of America versus the city or the state of blank in this case.
There's definitely more to this story, and I'll post it on the Freethinker Radio page for those who want to dive in. I just want to say the judge did issue an order and basically tell them, like, look, you need to stop doing this and release some of these kids. And they end with, quote, the South Dakota officials who are resisting the judge's order are the ones most responsible for ensuring that the Native children and their families are treated fairly and properly. To that end, they must obey federal law. We intend to make sure that they do. And that is, just part of a battle going on between the ACLU, and that's an ongoing thing. This has started in 2017. This continues, and I'll post that link on the page. I guess it's time for some music break now. We're at the half hour. We've been listening to Freethinker Radio here on 90.1 KPFT Houston. We got more news to cover and get into in the last little half hour. And of course, I think we got more tickets, Johnny, or did we get rid of all of them? Out of tickets? No more? One more pair of tickets to the comedy
y'all
show
are awesome.
for tomorrow night. So call in 713-526-5738. And for now, enjoy this music. We'll be right back.
Season on the rabbit. If you shoot him, you went today.
All right, we're having a little technical difficulties. Johnny's figuring it out. I think we're going to play So Soon the Truth. I don't know if you had that one pulled up, but we also have
another CD. Yeah, we have all kinds of good music, and we want you to send us your good music.
That's the cool thing about having this show that I do appreciate when it comes to music is that people send us music, and we get to listen to new music and debut it on the FM radio here in Houston, Texas. So if you want to share music, then reach out to us. We ready to go, Johnny?
Yes, sorry
all
about
right,
that,
we'll jam out. We'll be right back. It's Freethinker Radio.
Should I just die here?
All right.
Who were we listening to?
That was So Soon the Truth. I think that one was called Taste of Copper. They're actually playing this Scout Bar tonight. This is their first show in a little while here in Houston. They're coming off of a tour. They're based here in the Houston area, and that song and some other songs are from their new album that I think today it comes out. So I don't know.
Dang, Houston, you guys better get to a show tonight.
There's a lot of stuff going on. And we had a caller who had some exciting news to share, too.
Yeah, I'm going to get into this. First off, I want to thank everybody that got into the tickets for the comedy show. We gave away all of them. Good job. Awesome. And then during the music break, we had a Will Cheadle. Hey, thanks, Will, for calling in. He told us about this show at Last Concert Cafe with Cycles and Electric Van. We had to look this show up and get into it. But he offers a pair of tickets. So if you want to get out to Last Concert Cafe, and this is for Thursday, December 19th. So that'll be during the week, December 19th, Thursday. He'll have a pair of tickets available for you. And same thing, call 713-526-5738 and get your tickets to see Cycles and Electric Van. You can just Google that or look it up on Facebook and get into it. But we got a lot more news to come at you for the next 20 minutes. Maybe a little bit of music coming up. Oh man, everybody's going to want to spend money on the holidays. And the other day on the HD, I did a little segment on and it was about how not to mistake emotions and how people are still in debt, like millions of dollars from last holiday season and all this stuff. And I wanted to get into it, but I don't want to spend the time that I spent on the HD side doing it. But I think it was really good because I think basically it said don't fall for sales. Don't go get more than you would because it's for sale. Don't substitute thinking you're going to get the love and camaraderie of your family and friends with extra stuff. And it sounds so straightforward, but when you're out there, just think about it. Is this one more thing for them really going to make a difference? Is it just one more piece of junk so that you can try to show love that you haven't been able to show? Don't let that happen because that's not really what you want to do, I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. Y'all got any ideas about that real quick?
I usually just wait for all the socks.
The socks. There you go. Just wanted to save people, man, because after I saw how the percentage of people that were still in debt from that last holiday season, and you think about the whole consumerism thing, this thing plays heavily on heartstrings and emotions.
If you think about it just from a marketing standpoint, the hype over Black Friday and all that kind of stuff, it would make a lot of sense for them to actually increase their prices just before the holiday season and then drop them down to
That's
maybe
exactly what they do.
normal-ish. You know what I mean? So before the holiday season, what they do is hike them up. So you still might even be paying the same amount or a little bit more.
I have a friend who works in retail who told me that's exactly what their store does.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, that's how you would make a ton of money because they're not going to really be giving away anything that's not going to be benefiting them.
One of the tips was also to make a list and actually stick to the list. Make a list of these people that you really want to get something for. Take the time to sit down and think of something for them rather than to just go to the store, because when you just go to the store, you end up putting things in the cart, stuff like that you never intended. Well, if you make this list, it's more intentional. You actually have to consider that person and whether you want to spend money on
I don't
them.
think anyone should downplay the thoughtfulness of a gift.
No doubt.
Especially if you have religious ties to the time.
I mean, we need
and
all the
that.
love in the world we can get, and a gift is a way people typically show it, right?
Exactly. Just try not to kill each other while you're doing it.
No
and
doubt.
Try not to.
Speaking of killing each other, man, I got a short one I'm going to get into
that's a good
here.
segue.
It turns out a false testimony may have put this Texas man on death row. He was executed anyway. What? Huh? That's right. A false testimony may have put him on death row. Turns out that he never denied killing someone, but there's certain ways in which you end up getting death for killing someone. And it says here that prosecutors have never denied this claim. It was hard to question whether Travis Runnels, the ninth and final Texas inmate executed on death row this year, had committed a murder. Over a decade ago, this Dallas native pled guilty to 2003 killing of his former prison supervisor. But things got far more complicated when it came to one of the witnesses in his trial. The man's attorney charged that a state investigator, Marilat, had given false testimony. A state investigator, an authority there, right? A so-called authority. Prosecutors never denied this claim, and even that Marilat recently suggested he may have made a mistake. So the guy himself says, I probably just made a mistake. Yet the question of whether his testimony has made a difference in the verdict and thus between Runnels' life and a life sentence became central to the legal battle that lasted until this week. You wouldn't be allowed to get the death sentence based on a false testimony, the attorney Mark Pickett told the news. This is testimony that no one is disputing as false. Prosecutors, however, argued that even if Marilette had misled the jurors, one of these, state prosecutors misleading jurors, it wouldn't have made a difference in the verdict. They say that Runnels, who had a record of assaults against prison guards, was too dangerous and would have been sentenced to death anyway. Never mind the rules or anything. There, what led to a years-long legal back and forth between them, and it came to a close Wednesday as Runnels, 46, died by lethal injection. So it was never really resolved, this legal dilemma, and it came to an end because he was put to death. And he may have had life in prison instead of death, So that's just, maybe people don't think that's much, but I think it's a little something. It's to think about. It's a little unusual.
Just with the amount of mistakes that people make, the death penalty is a scary idea in general.
Yeah, that's where I get to usually. I don't trust the government enough to kill people.
No, and they do it anyways.
Yeah, they're going to kill him whether you like it or not. But yeah, definitely, it's not. No, they give us no good reason to trust them. Speaking again of killing. We found out this week, I think Monday it was, Micah, because Monday was the big story. The Afghan, what are now being called the Afghan papers, which were released by the Washington Post on Monday, they say they're the result of years and years of FOIA battles, fighting Freedom of Information Act requests from the government and from different agencies. And essentially what they reveal, much like the Pentagon Papers did about the Vietnam War, is that during the Bush administration, the Obama administration, and into the Trump administration, U.S. officials have been lying to the public and to the media, and the media has been helping them spread this message, promoting the idea that the war was going better than it was and that, they knew what they were doing, while behind the scenes, people were openly, people within the government and within the military were openly making statements that they were screwed and that they had no idea what they were doing and that they were just kind of blindly going about. This has, of course, led to the death of, I think, 2,500 American soldiers, I think a few tens of thousands of wounded American soldiers, not to mention dead civilians from Afghanistan, from that whole region, from, the U.S. military, as well as, of course, the larger consequences of the war on terror.
And all these contractors nowadays.
Military contractors, people being killed from drone bombings in the area, all this stuff. And yeah, they've been lying about it behind the scenes. So this is just to show you, the reality of war and what's going on. While we forget about it, this is America's longest war, 18 years now going on. 9/11 was 2001. We're coming into 2020. And, how many of us really consciously stop to think about it? Maybe we think about it more if the media did their job and, like in the past, told people about what was going on in the war and actually, instead of holding on to this information, told the people right away. And, this came out on Monday. And like we were saying on Monday, you had to scroll down to CNN halfway down the page past the celebrity news to find anything about this. And there's not much major coverage or even, I'd say, independent coverage of this. And I just think it's important for us, while we have the FM airwaves in Houston and Huntsville and the Galveston area, to recognize what's going on and to recognize that, there are lies being told and wars are being propped up by the media and by the people in power. This is why this is not endorsement, but why people like Tulsi Gabbard and others who run in the mainstream politics, who are the only people talking about let's end these regime change wars and talking about getting rid of that, are called Russian bots or just ignored by the media, because there's so many people, the military industrial complex, but the corporate media complex.
Label them with a pen.
All basically benefit from this. And this is one thing that you can say whatever you want about Donald Trump and about George Bush and Obama, and you can point out the differences among them, the few that exist. But at the end of the day, things like surveillance, things like civil liberties being taken away, press freedoms being pushed away, and war continue, and they have continued. And so now we have the proof.
That's why they don't argue about those things.
Yeah, there's no argument. They could.
It's not like one party's the pro-peace party.
There's always a bipartisan agreement that every year, without doubt, the military budget's going to be passed, and it's going to get bigger and bigger. Donald Trump has the biggest one. Well, before him, Obama had the biggest one, and before that, it was Bush, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And
seems to be a pattern.
The numbers we can't even wrap our minds around it because it's just like fake money being pumped out by the Federal Reserve. But at the end of the day, they do fund the wars
And
via
people
income
don't slow
tax.
down voting on these bonds saying yes, yes, yes. And it's such a racket. Think about it. They put in front of people, do you want us to spend money on heartstring objects to, that contractors that they already know are going to get, these bids? I don't see much hope for it because people keep voting for bonds. They vote yes, 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 yes. And that just means what? More debt, which means more printing. And that's separate from anything they tax us for or destroy away.
Yeah, and the other thing is when it does come to war, though, specifically, the numbers have been crunched, and the vast majority of it, the taxes that you're paying, they're not going to fix the streets or do things like that. Your income tax is funding the war. I mean, that's just the straight up about it. And we talked a little bit on Monday about the war tax resistance. I just want to throw that out there for those who want to look into groups who actively and have been doing this for 50 plus years, teaching people and showing people how they can divert their taxes towards charitable organizations and away from funding militarism and war and colonialism and all these things and just killing of people. So that's the Afghan Papers. It came out on Monday. If you haven't heard, we're here Friday. It's been 5 days since the release. It's already kind of been forgotten. It's already moved. Even the Post has kind of moved on to whatever else is next. They did a nice spread of here's 17 years worth of Afghanistan photos and this and that and different pieces of the puzzle. But for the most part,
it's not a war
it's
you
not
feel
being
good
covered.
about.
No. I got one other major one I'm going to just get into real quick, Micah. I won't take long, but just another update. You've heard us talking about this in the last few weeks about the whistleblower, at least 2 whistleblowers coming from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, which last year the U.S. media and U.S. officials, including Donald Trump and the Democrats, told us had declared that there was a chlorine gas attack in Syria, specifically in Douma, that had to have come only from Syrian President Bashar al-Assad and the Navy there, or the military, because it was dropped from the air, and they said these canisters proved it, and yada, yada, yada. And within days, Trump drops 100 Tomahawk missiles, and everybody celebrates it. And now we have 2 whistleblowers coming out from this international organization the last couple months saying that that's not what's happened, that they tried to release information, but it was changed behind the scenes. So in the latest development in that, we have a journalist from Newsweek. His name is Tarek Haddad. He is from the UK. He's a long-term journalist for the Newsweek mainstream publication. And he posted on December 7th, just days ago, he tweeted out, "Yesterday, I resigned from Newsweek after my attempts to publish newsworthy revelations about the leaked OPCW letter were refused for no valid reason." And in this Twitter thread, he goes on to say, "I have collected evidence of how they suppressed the story, in addition to evidence from another case where info inconvenient to the U.S. government was removed, although it was factually correct. I plan on publishing these details in full shortly. However, after asking my editors for comment, they threatened me with legal action. I'm seeking legal advice on how to proceed. At the very least, I will publish my evidence I have without divulging confidential information." And then just a couple days ago, he tweeted a kind of confirmation saying, "I'm sure the character attacks will follow, but thank you to everyone for the outpouring of support. I'm currently working on the piece, and I hope to have it ready in the next few days." That was December 8th. We're at December 13th. He hasn't published it yet. But just to show you, think about how many other mainstream journalists out there might have already tried to cover this and been told a similar thing, but didn't have the courage that this man did to come out. And instead, they remained silent. And we saw this with the Epstein story. It came out that ABC killed the story. They had it 3 years ago, and they decided to cover it up. In the Weinstein story, the same thing. Ronan Farrow tried to go after Weinstein, and they covered that up. The media is complicit in this. And in this case, this is a war crime. These are gas attacks that we were told people got behind bombing individuals in Syria, and now the organization that claimed to have the evidence, people are coming out of it, blowing the whistle and saying that it's a lie and that we were lied to in another war. This is Afghanistan all over. This is Iraq, weapons of mass destruction
They
all
like
over.
to lie to you about wars. I think if you really had to go to war, you probably know it because there'd be like a reason to defend your freedom. This seems like just
babies
a
in
reason to go
incubators.
get some lithium or opiates or whatever,
They get people all hyped up and
Go team!
they welcome. Well, I know we got a caller. Let's bring the caller on. Sorry for that. We need to get these important stories out, and it's necessary.
We only got 8 minutes. Let's take some calls.
All right, who do we got on the line?
Somebody y'all know.
What's up, MOD?
Hey, did you read the Skaven report from Whitney Webb's Mint Press article about who's been funding ISIS in Syria?
Is it a new one? If it's new, I haven't
No,
checked
it
it
just
today.
came out like a couple days ago.
I haven't seen it. No. Tell
Okay.
us about it.
Okay, so there's this thing called Kurdistan KRGs.
Yeah.
They are more or less. Let's see. Kurdistan Afghan regional government, and basically Israel created them out of a NGO, whatever, out of New Jersey. But anyway, Iraq's oil and Syria's oil has been funneled out of their country to Israel and funded through this organization, aiming to the likes of the sponsorship of terrorism in Libya right now. So 77% of Israel's total oil imports during the KRG's occupation of Kirkuk. So they're using Kirkuk. And when Trump says we like oil, in the article in the middle of it, Derrick, it references that basically what the troops are leaving behind are to protect that installation in Kirkuk.
Well, they came out recently and straight up said that they were there to protect oil. I mean, that's what's so crazy to me. It's like, it used to be like a quote unquote conspiracy theory. People are like, oh, they're not really there to keep us safe. It's there for the oil. Now they straight up say we're leaving some people behind to guard oil facilities.
Yeah, so 77% of the oil for some time now has been going to Israel with the sponsorship of Israel, of ISIS through Kirkuk, and then these envoys that goes about McCain in there meeting the guy that ate the heart and all that stuff of that one warrior or whatever, ISIS guy. So it's been going on for a while apparently, and something I knew about also. And I'll let you. Thanks. Let me give you the update. 5 weeks ago, Israel has bombed 60% of the defense systems of Syria, so they pretty much have carte blanche control access over Syria. But you don't hear about that, like you said, in the news, do we?
No, there's a lot we're not hearing, man. Well, we appreciate you always bringing us information.
Bye.
Thank you, brother. We have another caller, Johnny? All right. Who else do we have on the line?
Oh, this is Ray. Am I on?
You're on, Ray. What's on your mind?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, all this boils down to the war profiteers. I drew up this political cartoon about them. Every little conflict goes around, bomb, everybody, people getting killed and everything else. The war profiteers is in some room and some jerking off, having the round table jerk off and stuff. I was going to share with you. I got your freethinkerradio.com. I'll send you a little drawing.
Yeah, please send it over. You can find us on either on Facebook or the website for our main stuff is the HoustonFreethinkers.com, actually.
Houston Freethinker, okay.
Houston Freethinkers, yeah. Or you can, if you're on Facebook, Freethinker Radio. But yeah, thank you for, we need political cartoons to sometimes be able to laugh at the situation, but the hilarity and the insanity of it all. But thank you for your call.
Yeah, I occasionally submit some stuff to the Chronicle. They don't always print because my stuff's mostly left leaning. And but anyways, I'll share it with you guys. If you guys can post them up, that'd be fine too.
Awesome, thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, man. Bye bye.
All righty. Well, this has been a really
some crazy headlines.
Busy, exciting episode of Freethinker Radio. We're going to end up with some headlines from Micah.
How about this one? I've been dying for 25 years. How a cop has stalled his child sex abuse trial for decades. That's right. This is back once they finally were able to get, how it takes a background investigation longer. I mean, it's been, over a year with the totals. So they were finally able in 1995 to get this guy to go to court and everything. And, yeah, he's still alive and free. He's in retirement. He has boats and stuff. He molested and raped his daughter's 12-year-old friend. And, he hasn't had to go to court for it. This is way back in 1995. And I don't know if it's just because he's an officer or something, but, yep, that's right. He's a detective. He was a detective. So, yep, that's one. Oh, and speaking of police and these things, child sex ring roll is now bringing down the senior cop of China. Yeah, that's kind of serious, right? He's sentenced to 16 and a half years for having sex with girls who were all below the age of 14. Yeah, 8 times between the summer of 2017 and 2018, as well as taking and receiving bribes. Oh, boy. Now a trial is beginning for an IRS agent that's accused of raping a college intern. This is a busy world. These authoritarians really are keeping themselves busy. I don't make these headlines up. This is what's there.
Yeah, next on Monday, because we're about to wrap up on Monday, if you want to tune in from 4 to 6, Micah and I will have 2 hours with you on the HD2 dial. I'm going to be talking about the newly leaked China cables, which show their internment camps for the first time, show how they're working. They're going to
spend $1.3 trillion in 2020. They agreed to it.
We'll get to more economic news. We'll save all that for Monday, though, but thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back on Monday, Freethinker Radio, KPFT Houston. Thank you, Johnny, for producing.
Thank you, Johnny.
Stay tuned for lots more music, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you, Derrick.